Imagine there's two people having a conversation and you want to get to the other side. Now, the way I grew up, my culture is that I need to approach them and excuse myself, be acknowledged, and then I can move on. But in sign language, it's different. If two people are having a signed conversation, they value their eye contact and the flow of their communication much more than they value my idea of what's polite. So in sign language, you just move on straight through the conversation, minimal distraction, no weaving and dancing, bobbing. No, you just go straight on through.
No waving, no dancing, no bobbing, just straight through. We should have applied that to your assignments in class.
There's probably some truth to that. So it was difficult to adapt, but of course, after some time, I got the hang of it, and there were other adjustments, of course, that you have to make to culture. And I learned a valuable lesson, and that is that language and culture are intrinsically linked. You can't really have one without the other. And if you're learning a new language, you have to just adapt. You have to be willing to change. And the best thing to do is that if there are no scriptural principles involved, just adopt the culture and the value of the native language users. And that's what Paul meant. He said, become all things to people of all sorts.
We're watching Gilead graduate Joel Graham discussing language and the lessons he's learned in learning American Sign Language. I chose this clip for two reasons. First of all, just the humor and the way the video is edited. It was just really cheesy and wooden and awkward, wasn't it? When it cut to the studio audience laughing at the host discussing the bobbing and ducking or whatever it was. It wasn't really funny. The audience laughed anyway, and the way it was edited was trying to make it look funnier than it really was. So I found that whole thing awkward and weird. But what I especially found interesting was where Joel Graham was talking about culture and scriptural principles.
And if you're learning a new language, you have to just adapt. You have to be willing to change. And the best thing to do is that if there are no scriptural principles involved, just adopt the culture and the value of the native language user.
Some of you will remember that recently on this channel, I discussed this whole issue of culture. It was actually Sushi 302. Jehovah's Witnesses have two stances on culture. A thumbnail will appear if Tibor is gracious. And that title really sums it up. It's well emphasized, I feel, in what Joel is saying here. On the one hand, Jehovah's Witnesses hook people in by saying, we allow you to express your culture. You don't have to get rid of your culture in order to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But the truth of it is, and the truth only comes out once you're sold on the whole thing, once you're a card-carrying believer. But the truth of it is that scriptural principles are the deciding factor. In other words, if culture clashes with what Jehovah's Witnesses understand the Bible to say, or with the Jehovah's Witness interpretation of the Bible, guess what? The culture has to give way. And this was made so clear in the May JW Broadcasting episode, where Mark Sanderson, governing body member, just flat out said, we need to be willing to put our culture to one side in favor of unity. So I'm glad that Joel Graham, Gilead graduate, mentioned this, even if it was just fleeting as part of a broader discussion on language, because it perfectly demonstrates the fact that in the Jehovah's Witness religion, culture must give way if it conflicts with scriptural principles.